Welcome to another tutorial. In this one we're going to look at the Realm of Battle game board that Games Workshop put out. So this has been out for a number of years. It's quite expensive, and a while back I did a tutorial on how to make your own sort of modular battle board with the 2x2 squares, and I finally caved in and bought the Games Workshop one, and I'm going to walk through some of the differences and how I got this. This is mine, so how I got this result at the end of it all, and some tips and tricks along the way. So there's lots of resources out there. If you Google Realm of Battle and look for tutorials, there's a great one on dakka by I think it's Baumgart. Or Bramgard, or whatever his name is, and he takes lots of great pictures and explains the process. It's very similar to what Games Workshop used to publicize on the website. However, they've taken all those tutorials down, and so you kind of up to your own devices to figure out how to do it. So starting out, here's what I got. I ended up ordering the 2 extra pieces as well, so they all fit inside this case nicely. Pretty tight, but they all do fit in there. And I also ordered the scenery painting kit. One of the main reasons is I really like the Games Workshop flock, or the static grass here, with the different colors mixed in. I find that all the hobby store ones are, well, A, much cheaper, but B, they're only a single color, whereas this one here is a nice mixture of I think 3 or 4 different colors. And then the big bottle of dark paint, and there's a little bottle of paint as well, and another packet of lighter grass. So there's the main ochre. I ended up only using about half of it to paint all 8 tiles, and this light ochre one here, I used very, very little of it. Okay, so starting out, I didn't have the paints with me to start with, and so I thought I was going to do something a bit different, and I spray painted all of the pits there a dark brown. I ended up painting over most of that, so kind of ignore it. Here's the dark brown painted on everything. So the first coat, I used the scenery painting brush and painted it on fairly quickly, and found that it went on nicely, covered fairly well, but I wanted to have a bit more. I did try using the Citadel spray gun. I don't have the right bottle for it, and it was a disaster, so I gave up on that really quickly. And I also have the modular hills and just the regular hill. I did all those at the same time, so I wanted them to look pretty uniform. So here's everything painted with one coat. You can see I've got some lighter patches here. This first stuff was actually done with thin down paint, and then I went over it with just straight out of the bottle. And then what I also did is I took a foam roller. It's the kind of thing that you get at a dollar store. It's about 4 inches long on a roller, and I did all of them with the roller, and I found that was great because it didn't leave any brush strokes, and it got nice even coverage everywhere. And then what I was able to do with that as well, once it dried, I was able to give it a second or third coat of paint really quickly, and it was very fast, and like I said, no brush strokes. So here's kind of what it looking like as it's drying. Did this all in my garage, and just tried to keep it off the ground and made sure I didn't splatter anything anywhere, because I didn't want drips coming down the side there that would interfere with how this would all fit together. And I did paint the edges with this same brown, so all of those facing edges, even though Games Workshop seems to have done theirs with black, I did mine all brown. And there we are, getting ready to dry. So this took a bit longer than it should have. That's probably because I was experimenting, but straight out of the bottle, as long as you shake it well, this stuff is quite nice. Nice coverage. It's almost like a slightly thinned down foundation paint. Then after that, I used the ochre here to dry brush everything, and I found that this was kind of difficult on some of the large surface areas, and you'll see a bit of directionality. I tried to cover that as much as possible, but some of it's unavoidable, because you're using a smaller brush on a huge surface and trying to get the paint just the right amount. So you can see, some areas here. If I wasn't planning on flocking this, I would go back and try to fix that up, but because I knew I was going to be putting the static grass over everything, I didn't figure this would be too obvious. But if you were just doing this like a wasteland or some other sort of paint scheme, that would be important to get that just right. And here we are all done, and you can see some of the streaks that not the greatest, but will be fine for my application. And a little bit of a blurry picture showing the kind of the detail. And this looks to me very similar to stuff you can get for doing ceilings, stucco that's knocked down, not the really fluffy popcorn stuff, but there's other textures you can get at somewhere like Home Depot. So if you were building your own board like this, you could use something like that and get a similar kind of texture, I think. Okay, next what I did is I mixed up some gray paint, and again, this one here, this took longer than I should have because I didn't do it the right way. I would recommend going forward, if you're to do this, pick a dark gray, not a medium gray. So I used just a medium gray. It was an artist tube that I had sitting around, so not a Games Workshop one. So I would suggest getting a darker gray and painting all of the rough areas where the stone is showing through. And the reason I say that is just it prevents you having to shade it later. You can just dry brush on top. Whereas with me, I had to kind of try to wash this, and it didn't work out well because it wasn't a great paint I used. Anyway, so there's all the grays. And yeah, use a good quality paint. Don't go to the dollar store, I would suggest, for these. You probably don't need to use Games Workshop ones, but something sort of in the middle. Maybe what's it, Apple Barrel or something you can get at a craft store that's a reasonable paint. Then I went along and dry brushed everything. So this here, you're not using nearly as much paint, so you can use some better paints. I used some of my Reaper stones for this and just went over it with a dry brush using kind of the tank size dry brush for Games Workshop. I think it's about half an inch across. And there I am dry brushing all the surfaces up. I didn't really like how the edges here, and because I had a hard time with the shading, I went over everything with Devlin mud and just painted it straight in all these cracks. And that's probably it there. Actually, no, this is, so then after that, what I did is I took some of the greens. So it used to be Goblin Green, now it's whatever color is equivalent, and a bit of the XV88, I think it was. I mixed them together, and I dry brushed directly in the cracks just to give a bit of a greenish mossy tinge to things. And I actually really liked how that stage turned out. You can see it a little bit here, so kind of focusing on some of the deeper areas. And all that does is it gives a little bit more variation for your eye and makes it look a little bit more believable, because nothing is exactly one set of colors. Then what I did is I mixed up some PVA glue, so it's just white glue, 50-50 mix approximately, and I mixed the first batch in a cup, and then after that I switched, because this was half empty, I just filled this with water, shook it up really well, and this worked out quite nicely. I just would squirt it everywhere and then use the brush to smooth it out, which is like this, and tried to get it as evenly as possible, and tried to get a nice uneven edge around the edges there, and made sure nothing was dripping over the edges. And I had a nice piece of wood here, really smooth, and I took the static grass and placed it all on there. Now what I did find, because I was doing 8 tiles, I found that I ran out of static grass, and I was a little bit worried about this, because it went on really thick and gave me a right nice even color here. That wasn't exactly what I was looking for. It looked a little bit too fake, but I found that with a thin down glue, after it was done, I was able to sort of scrub it lightly with my hand, so rub back and forth, and lots of grass came off, and I just collected that in a bin, and there was plenty to use for the rest of my tiles. As I was painting it on as well, I used some of the lighter static grass, and I sprinkled it in a couple different areas while it was wet, and then sprinkled everything else on top. So this ended up, mixing in some of this lighter stuff with the other bit, but I figured that didn't really matter. So this is what it looks like before I brushed it, and that's sort of what it looks like after. So you can start seeing some of the browns through there, and gives it a nice bit more worn kind of a look, not like a freshly manicured lawn. There's again one of the other tiles freshly manicured, and there's the whole thing all done. So you can see some areas wore through the brown a bit more, some less, but overall I think there's nice enough variation there that that it's going to work. Now I'm going to mention a bit about making your own tiles here. So my other tutorial, make sure you check it out. There's a link in the description below, and maybe I'll try to add something here. So you can make your own tiles using a bunch of different varieties. The best bet, if you have a Home Depot nearby, pick up some 2x2 squares. They're pretty cheap. You find them called handy panels, and they come in all different sizes. You can get 2x4, you can get 4x4, but 2x2 is what you want. I'd suggest you can use whatever you'd like. I used 1/4 inch when I did it last time, and over time the tiles warped a bit, so some of the edges would come up so they don't sit flat. So make sure you use either plywood or MDF that's a little bit thicker than 1/4 inch, so maybe 1/2 inch if you don't mind having that weight to carry around. Yeah, check out my other tutorial, see how you can do it on your own. This one here will give you an idea of how you can paint it up to look a bit more like this. And yeah, maybe I'll pick up some of those Forge World tiles because those are pretty cool looking. There's one that has like sort of a base built into one of these hillsides, and they have some city ones as well. Anyways, if you have any questions, comments, or queries, please leave them in the comments below. Check out my blog. I've got lots of work in progress going on there, and I'm pretty quick to answer any questions and follow up on any comments. See you next time.